What's happening, homie? We are back at day 4 of the Intelligentsia Cup at Mundelein, I'm not sure. Now we're going to have some stats you might find interesting. I weigh about 165 pounds, FTP is about 30 something, average 263 watts, normalized 295, average 28 miles an hour, and 11 babies have been born on Antarctica. This race was hard, let me tell you, but just a ton of fun. It was fairly consistently strung out, and it made for a pretty good day of racing. Weather was nice and just kind of cool. As always, I'm racing with the Kelly Benefits team. You'll see one of my teammates come up here in the top right as we come through this right-hander, and just survival was really the goal for me. I hadn't been doing great. Yesterday did decent, or the day before I did decent, but just trying to survive really, and I think that was kind of their goal as well. It was just some tough racing, a lot of crashing for sure. You can see his ripped up bib shorts, but no real team strategy really to speak of. This course was a ton of fun. This section, the back section, is just slightly uphill, and the crosswind was coming from the left, so I'm definitely eating some wind here for sure. And you see the guy ahead of me in yellow, him and another rider end up breaking away, and they just put time into us, like a ton of time, and they ended up taking the win. Well, he got second, and then there was like a 16-year-old from out of the United States, international, who took the win, I think. But outside of that, still some really good racing, really strong racing. It didn't really feel like anyone was just kind of settling for third. There was definitely attacks. And with those attacks came, obviously the strung outness of the race. And I was tail gunning a little bit. I was definitely starting to feel, that the race was difficult and starting to feel those first 3 days of racing. So kind of approaching it from tail gunning aspect, kind of hoping that the pack would, chase back the break. It didn't happen, but that's okay. What I really want to focus on here is this corner, this left-hander that then leads into the right-hander into the roundabout. That part of the race was the most difficult for me, and it's something that I think I actually really did improve on as the race progressed. So we jump ahead a little bit, about 4.5 miles into the race, and you can see, I take that corner so badly. I come into the back of that rider's wheel, and then I hit the brakes because I'm going faster than they are. And actually, who I figured this out from eventually is the rider on my left. I can't remember his name. He was working for the Intelligentsia Cup. Great guy, super nice to talk to. He also worked for Toad. He won the Lowlands Lion Prix stuff in the Cat 2 race at Toad. Really cool guy. But he kind of showed me, he's very good at tail gunning, very, very good. He kind of showed me the ropes a little bit, not like he told me, hey, follow my wheel, but just I watched him because he wasn't struggling at all, really. And that's where I kind of improved through those corners, and that's kind of the main thing I wanted to focus on in this video, was just approaching corners that you're struggling with in more of a constructive way, so that you're able to better improve at them as time passes. So we just saw me do a terrible job, but we're gonna jump ahead here in a second, and I do a much better job, and it really helps me as the race goes on, and I get a little bit more aggressive near the end of the race. So we jumped ahead a little bit here, and we're about to come into the first left-hand corner, and I'm carrying my speed 28 miles an hour, and I float into the back of this guy a little bit better. I'm still on the brakes a little bit too much, but this is kind of the first step in that improvement that I made. And I kind of found that on the left side here, you got a little bit better shelter, and then you could take this corner a little bit better. One thing I did notice is that running over those cobbles, or those pavers, ended up slowing you down a ton. And thus, I just didn't go over them. You can see here through the roundabout, I'm doing a pretty decent job of conserving, but then something that I improved on as time went is I noticed if you just keep a little bit of pressure on the pedals through the corner, you seem to keep your speed a lot better, and you're able to stick on that wheel, that little bit extra, and thus you're able to, save energy, which I, spent a lot of this race. Again, taking the corner at 29, 27, braked a little bit, but not a ton, kind of just losing speed from not pedaling as well. Doing an okay job here, again, of sitting on that wheel, and it's I'm getting better as time goes, right? We're 17 miles into the race, we're 35 minutes in, and I'm not losing the wheel as much here. This corner, really, I just struggled, honestly. It's such an odd corner, and you can see, if you take the inside line and you're leaning too much, or if you take the outside line and you're leaning too much, you're going to clip a pedal, and it's not good. It's just a kind of a weird corner. You can see it's super strung out, so you had to get better. In that corner, in that sequence of corners, if you got worse, you were going to get dropped, and some riders did end up getting dropped. 3 laps to go now. Jumped ahead a little bit, and we're just going to let it ride. Last 3 laps were a ton of fun. Heart rate stays around the 170 mark, which isn't quite pinned, but definitely pretty up there. Max is around 195-ish, maybe 200 right now. And I move out to the left here for almost no reason. I should have just stayed right and just stuck on the wheel of 475, who's right in front of me right now. And I end up getting back on his wheel. It's not a big deal, but that's just something I definitely need to work on, especially as I move up to the Cat 1 races and just faster, harder races in general, is that people are just going to take that from you, and you can't just get off the wheel and jump back on willy-nilly. We move forward, and I just don't think I'm in the right spot right now, and I realize that. Even in the race, I realized that. So I'm going to try to move up over these next 2 laps. Maybe it's already too late. But there's no real big teams here, and that was kind of the theme of Intelligentsia Cup for at least the Cat 2 races, is that there weren't any teams. So it almost slowed down at the end of every race, every time. You can see here we're bunching up a ton. People are starting to bump a little bit, and just, there's no need to be on the front yet because there's no teams controlling it and keeping it fast. And we're going to come into this final corner. We haven't actually taken a look at this corner for most of the video, but it is definitely kind of funky, really rough pavement, like awful. I do a pretty good job of holding the line there and just, keeping my placement. We immediately spike it up. I'm doing 900 watts just to stay on the wheel, and we're already back up to 30 miles an hour. And just, it stays fast. Even up the backside where it was uphill, we were staying around 28 miles an hour. So 2 laps to go, right? Starting to run out of time. Definitely need to start making a move, and I definitely start to. The problem is I'm just really struggling to move up. Like, I'm trying. It just feels like that there's never a place where I am comfortable moving up, and I think that's from me tail gunning the whole time. And so that's kind of my main takeaway from this race for me moving forward, was just you got to move up earlier. You got to be in the pack earlier, because you're not going to find a place to move up if you're not comfortable. I take this corner way faster than I had ever taken it before at 28, and I almost biff it, but I take it edge to edge as best as I can, and you can see it is strung out. There's gaps, but again, there just isn't enough of a team presence here for this to really go the distance. And so yeah, it's gonna stay strung out here for a second, but you can already see it's starting to widen, and it's staying quick. I'm going 29, I'm carrying speed, but again, like, it's just, I'm struggling to move up. I'm just following the wheels, trying to find the right spot. We started with about 45 people. I'm not sure how many are still left at the end of the race, but there's 2 off the front, so you're really battling with 30 other guys for that last podium spot, and everyone here is pretty quick, and everyone here wants to win. I take a bad corner here. I brake here. I shouldn't have. The District Tacos guy pushes me out of the way, not in like any bad way. I just take the corner terribly, and we get really slowed down, and I move over to the left again. I'm in the wind, and I just get swarmed here, and it makes it really hard to move up. It's bell lap. There's almost no way to keep moving forward when you're getting swarmed in the last lap. And I lost like maybe 10 spots, which is huge, right? That's the difference between, 3rd and 13th, right? A result to write home about and one not to. And it's just, man, it's so rough rewatching this and kind of commentating over it, because it's so clear like where I was making mistakes. Like, I'm just not being aggressive. I should have taken that corner. I should have put some power into the pedals and not let a gap open. Like, it's just so bad. Manitoba kids here, man, were they squirrely on the bike, but they raced hard, so I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, man, like, I'm just so far back. There's literally 20 guys ahead of me right now, and so the guy right here jams it in the MIT kit, and I'm like, okay, I'll jump on his wheel. I mean, he pulls me up a few bike lengths, and I'm keeping my speed a little bit better than the guys on the far right. I am in the wind, so I'm technically like the crosswind here is left to right. I'm taking some wind, and this right here is where I think I make my final mistake. I let this rider 467 just get in front of me here. I think if I stay there, I'm able to stay on the wheel of the MIT guy, who you'll be able to see. He ends up beating me by like 4 or 5 spots, but I'm just so far back. I hit 1200 watts, but it's worthless. Why hit 1200 watts when you're 30 wheels off the back? End up crossing in like 17th, so an okay result, but just could definitely do better. And just hoped that the rest of Intelligentsia Cup will do better. We'll see that as it comes. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please like, subscribe. Deuces.